This is Andrea Lambert, and I'm here to start reading Angelina the Serrano, my new ebook, which is the sequel to Neon Hysteric. It was supposed to come out in paperback, and it still might, but you know, there's a war on, and I think that's a pretty reasonable enough excuse. So if delays happen, no big. I figured I'd just start promotion now because why not? And I'm just excited to share this story. This is kind of the story of how I got my shit together after all of that. And it's called Angelina the Serrano by Andrea Lambert, Angelina Books. Chapter 1, Leaving San Francisco. I was so tired of working so hard, constantly being tired and hungry. I got off the Anjuda train, stopped in a cafe, considered moving home to my parents' house in San Diego. Their 5-bedroom, 3-bathroom suburban house seemed like a sanctuary. It was so cold in San Francisco. I might be done trying to make it on my own, if this was what it took. It seemed kinder this way. Harm reduction? Why not move home? Clean up, go to graduate school, get one of those MFAs Dave talked about. Work on all those novel manuscripts I discarded. Limo moved out. I got lonely. Went to Reno for Christmas. Spent the return trip thinking about how nice it was to eat enough. I wasn't willing to steal, even when I was starving. I was slowly starving as the temp jobs were drying up. I felt less and less welcome in my usual nightlife haunts. While I was out of town for Christmas, David kicked Angelina out. She moved in with Billy. My father picked me up at 7 a.m. on a Sunday. The first thing I said was, "Can we get something to eat?" My bank account was overdrawn. Both of my credit cards maxed out. I spent all my money on drugs and people who weren't my friends anymore. I was humiliated. I was 29. I stepped into the red minivan, a failure. Watched my whole world disappear into the rearview mirror. I knew I had to leave San Francisco. It was just time to go. Everyone knew I had herpes. There was no one left to sleep with. I had no more money. I couldn't work anymore. I was sick. Physically, mentally. I didn't tell my parents I was a drug addict. I only said I lost my job. That was true. I lost 2 full-time jobs. Couldn't get enough temp work. San Francisco was too expensive. I couldn't support myself there anymore. War hokers went belly up a month before I left. I didn't tell the few people I met in San Diego that I was running away from being a drug addict. I kept my addictions a secret. I kept so many other secrets for so many years. This writing is fiction. It is not secret. All of this is imaginary. It exists on the page, in a world, a word you enter as you turn the page. I read Valley of the Dolls before bed in my parents' house. Woke up with one arm twisted behind my neck and the other grasping madly in the air of my childhood water in front of my childhood waterbed. Transferred the Selma magazine subscriptions to my parents' house. Savored each chic, glossy page of a world I didn't live in anymore. I came to San Francisco after shedding my youth in Portland. I became a temp, another type of secretary. I wore suits, traipsed around the financial district in heels. Diane Warwick sings on the Valley of the Dolls soundtrack. Gotta get up, gotta get out. Time to find life on my own. Gotta get up, gotta get on. Gotta get off of this ride. Gotta find. Need to get hold of my pride. I was alone for most of the next year. 2005 was a sad year. I was alone in my parents' house with them oblivious to the withdrawals that consumed me. The daily vomiting that I tried to drown with even more of their wine. Sitting on the balcony of their suburban home, painting my toenails teal blue. Staring blankly at the phone that never rang. Reading all the Harry Potter books. Lingering in Barnes & Noble with my mother. My father put me to work night and day in his office. I cooked the entire South Beach Diet cookbook for my parents. Worked in my father's law office as a file clerk. Was essentially an indentured servant for a year. I was thankful my parents took me in. They saved me. I had nowhere to go. 2005 summer, I began to work for my father. He was a lawyer. His office was a cramped 100-degree basement bedroom in my parents' house. 50s thermodynamic textbooks and tort restrictions lined the walls. 4 stacks of acro-bound pleadings, inscrutable documents. I climbed the stepladder at a halter top. My parents' house didn't have air conditioning. They bought it in the 1970s, before global warming. My father said, "Oh, it's fine. The breeze comes in from the ocean." We weren't far from the beach. La Jolla. Its elegant coastline was next door, on the other side of the 5 and 52 freeways. I wrote practice GRE essays about driving along the La Jolla coastline, carried thick legal documents, the owner's manuals to every electronic device my father had ever owned. Up 5 feet, down 5 feet. I'm 5'4", even in heels. Professional accoutrements such as heels were checked working for Dad. I couldn't see above the 4th file drawer. There were 6. More files in the back bedroom. Files in the garage. For some people, filing is a myth. For others, a necessity. For my father, filing was a passion. I became sucked into this passion. I had no car. Couldn't get an outside the house job at first. I was afraid to call my own temp agency. I sweated through my blouse, hole punched until my vision swam. Everything had to be echoed, that is to say, bound at the top with this 2-pronged metal thing. The files had to be pinched open at exactly the 1-inch mark. No more, no less. I made about 500 files this month. The echoes created the problem. My father leaned over from his swivel chair on a cracked plastic mat, his great weight wheezing in a pair of khaki shorts. "You've got these all wrong," he said. "The holes are supposed to go a half-inch to the right. You need to do these all again." Many of the legal motions went to Exhibit Z. My father told me the plan. Go through with the Scotch tape. With every sheet, lay a strip of tape across the top. Punch the holes again, the file folder too. File them on the 3rd top file, forward to the left. I couldn't do this anymore. To raise cash to move out, I took a temp job. Pathways Personnel again. They placed me in a nonprofit, international relief work. I tried so hard to get hired. They kept me on as a temp for 9 months. That way they didn't have to give me health insurance. That was easier to fire. I saw Rent with my mother in San Francisco. Cried from the beginning credits. Brady told me before he died that he thought Rent romanticized the virus. His wasted limbs piercing through tight trousers, a tin of government peanut butter from the food bank in his hands. He was HIV positive. I was afraid I was also. Rent portrays a group of edgy musicians, strippers, and filmmakers in 1980s New York, before the more effective antiretrovirals. Death was assured and harsh. Rent wrenched the fragile joy of short life lived fully, emotive, tender, gorgeously performative, possibly manipulatively tear-jerking. The cruelty of the virus. In San Diego, I was far away from San Francisco. Anyone who used to be my friend. Brady was dead. Lucas was homeless. Nobody called me anymore. Party people had bigger problems. Or didn't have enough cell phone minutes to listen to me. AIDS brackets my life. Haunted me. I cried in my parents' guest bedroom. AIDS fear pursues me. A ghost. A lingering presence. My mother, next to me in the movie theater, cheered up a bit. We left the bathroom. She asked me why I cried so much. I couldn't tell her. I didn't want to tell her. I told her imperfectly what I could. Red reminded me of San Francisco, the friends I left behind. Okay, I'm going to stop here. Okay, welcome. This is part 2, chapter 1 of Angelina at the Serrano. I got the idea to go to Cafe Bassam downtown to work on Just a Desolate. Attempt to be approachable through careful wielding of midriff and manuscript. It was a long drive from University City to downtown San Diego, to dubious, caffeinated results. What did I expect? To meet someone I could date? Who would be willing to date someone who lived at home with their parents? Unlikely. I lost my nerve. Stayed home with a bottle of vanilla Smirnoff. I didn't know who I was anymore. Now that I wasn't the party slut who always had coke, a skeleton key. I steeped in isolation. 2005. More and more difficult to go out. Easier to stay home. I was comfortable. Safe. I could listen to my old San Francisco music. Remember. Write. My sole passion these days. I curled up in the pedicure chair I bought with Jessie in the Tenderloin, a jet set desolate. I carted it back to San Diego in Dad's minivan. The one piece of furniture I've been able to take with me. That chair was all I had left. I'd never throw that vinyl chair away. I still have it, actually. The cats clawed it near to bits. Every partner I've had since wanted me to get rid of it. I never will. I love its mid-century modern lines. I woke up at 7:30 a.m., worked all day, went to a nonprofit where they paid me $11 an hour. I researched customs regulations on the internet. Why someone lost a package of the L Word DVDs they were trying to ship to our field office in Honduras. What the fuck? I thought. You can't track the USPS. I don't know what happened to your goddamn DVDs. I mean, if I'd had the presence of mind to FedEx them, this wouldn't have happened, but I'm told to cut corners and be cheap so we can feed more babies in Ethiopia, so I sent a priority mail, and they completely vanished off the face of the earth. I'm sorry. Stop calling me about it. I need to get my eyebrows done. And no, I don't know if the hotel in Malawi has a view. Things I wanted to say to my coworkers that I stuffed wisely. I was under a lot of stress. Felt trapped. I needed to get out of my parents' house. I applied to 7 grad schools that winter. Hoped that one would rescue me. Take me off to a place where I would just have to produce vivacious text about my sordid life. Live in a garret with a bed somewhere. The water mixes with coconut oil, becomes a fire. I am burning even now. I am a phoenix, burning in light and dark. In the glory of my exploitation, I am on fire.